It's time to welcome the next speaker who will be speaking on making equitable, inclusive culture a reality for all. Mr. Ravi Pandey is the head of marketing at UKG India. He comes with a rich experience of 20 plus years in the industry. He has worked with diverse organizations from various industries and geographies across continents, helping them bring about notable difference in organizations, culture-driven thoughts, process automation in WFM and HCM function. Everybody, please welcome with a huge round of applause, Mr. Ravi Pandey, Head Marketing, UKG, India.
So, very good morning, everyone. And we got a lot of information today. Niren talked, Nitin Vadva presented very important insights into the mega trends that are affecting us. So I am going to double click today on one of the aspects. And the aspect is, we talked about DE&I. We talked about diversity, equity, and inclusion at workplace. We make policies in our organizations to ensure that right culture prevails. We become a good culture, and a culture that not only has a lot of trust built in and camaraderie built in within the working community, but also makes us more productive in the business terms. Now, it's one thing to have policies in place. It's one thing to have right intentions to drive a great work culture, have an inclusive workforce. But it's completely another to be able to operationalize it on ground. And when I'm talking about operationalizing it on ground, I'm talking about the last leg workers as well. Right? With an attrition as high as what Niren is facing, it could be very, very difficult, I understand. And hence, we need the right intents and the right tools to be able to do it right for our workforce. When I say for all, I mean the entire workforce, not just the employees, people who are working for our organization. Now, yesterday evening I was here. I wanted to check on if everything is being done all right. It's part of my job responsibility. And I happened to interact with a budding entrepreneur. I asked him, how are things with you? He said, oh, it's going all great. It's going all great because I have got a lot of respect for people who work with me. People feel pride in the way we are growing, and things are working out for me well. I'm growing slower than I would expect us to, but we are surely headed in the right direction. Now, for small enterprises, for startups, it's very, very important, but it's equally important for larger organizations, enterprises, and conglomerates. By doing one-on-one interactions, we can make it possible in smaller organizations. But we really need a larger set of tools to be readily available to us in the HR community for us to ensure that this exists the right way in the organizations that we work for. Now, this is Varna Mayers. She is VP Inclusion Strategy at Netflix. I'm sure a lot of you know about this. And there's a very popular statement by her. In fact, she is proud to put it as part of her LinkedIn profile. So she says, diversity is being asked to the party, and inclusion is being asked to dance. When we talk of diversity, it's not just about being gender diverse. It's a very larger term. We all are from different industries, and it would mean different things for us. It could be different types of workforce, be it white collar or blue collar. It could be extended to the contract workmen who work for us. That's also diversity. It could be generational diversity. We could have neurodiverse individuals working for us. In fact, I was talking to a very great multinational manufacturing organization, and they said that they have put visually challenged people to do QA. And they have been very, very successful because they are not distracted. They are focusing on their work, right? So different industries, different kind of diversity is possible. Bringing it all together and having them contribute is the inclusion, right? Getting the same maximum output from them, that's possible. Now, we take diversity, equity very, very seriously at UKG. In fact, we have got a C-level executive who is championing that cause within our organization. And he extended that definition to bring in belonging and equity. He said, belonging is dancing to your favorite song, and equity is being given the same opportunity to host the next party. Right, so it's about being treated as equal, being empowered. So in our organizational parlance, are we listening to our people enough? Are we really taking their ideas into consideration, their preferences into account when we are doing things within the organization? We are taking operational decisions to run our business. Now, all this may sound fairy tale-ish, but it's all possible, and I'll talk about it with some practical examples that we can see on ground. So, how do we make equitable, inclusive culture a reality, and not just reality, but a reality for all in the organization? So the idea is to get creative and meet people where they are, understand them, take their ideas into consideration. And this is a three-step process. But that process starts with uniquely valuing people within the organization, making them feel that they are being uniquely valued. So you have to build, champion, and then accelerate, make it, do it at a scale. And to make it very, very relatable, I'll take some examples to take it forward. But then this requires investment. Having right set of tools would require an organization to make certain expenses. But the thing is that it is all proven that making these right investments within the organization has its own business imperative. It has got an ROI. And there was this research which was done by Great Places to Work and FTSE Russell. And they, based on data that was captured between 1998 and 2021, they found that the 100 best companies to work for, people with great workplace culture and inclusive culture, they grew 3.33 times more than the other organizations, right? So essentially, the investments that you make gives you returns. Don't be shy of making the right investments. The examples that I'm talking about today are around these three factors. Eliminating bias. How do I increase trust within the organization? Now, taking example of the same entrepreneur, he was working with another organization before. One day, he got motivated enough to move out of that organization and create his own small entity. What happened with him was there was bias, perceived bias, in the previous organization, which he did not like. Why not I go ahead and create an organization that I can feel proud of? Eliminating bias is very, very important. When we did that Mentis game together with Niren, the thing which was in top of mind of most of us was flexibility. How do we ensure that we have work flexibility? And we cannot improve what we cannot track. And hence, tracking the right indicators of good culture within the organization is of utmost importance. So let's look at some examples. This is not very comprehensive. There are some real-life examples that I have picked up on. So first example is around eliminating bias. Now, specifically in manufacturing organizations, and those organizations wherein work time is very, very important, we have work schedules, work time that people need to adhere to. Some people I like, and hence I will give them favorable work time. This concept is called sweetheart scheduling. I really like this word. Now, this sort of thing creates issues with others within the organization. Their trust with the manager diminishes. I remember a scenario wherein I was with a manufacturing company in Pune. I was visiting them. And I talked to people, like I usually do within the organization, to understand how the culture is working. And they said that, okay, this manager likes that guy very much. He is not giving him night shifts. Now, I knew the manager. I know that he is a good person. I went to him, and he said that there is this perception within your organization. People feel that you are favoring somebody. He said that, no, it's not that. That specific employee reached out to me, and he had some genuine personal problems. And I thought that being a good manager, I should accommodate his request. Now, while manager is doing it in his good faith, but still that perception is being created. Now, how do we have the right set of tools so that these perceptions can be taken care of? And of course, I know of enough and more cases where there are genuine sweetheart scheduling. So if, say we had a tool which was more democratized, there's an app on your mobile using which employees can indicate their preferred working hours, or they could indicate their non-available hours, and that is being considered while preparing the work schedule. One, people will feel empowered. There will be no perception of there being any favoritism. And genuinely, you are a bias-free organization while accommodating the expected flexibility that the employees so very well deserve. They are giving you better part of their life, and hence their voices also need to be heard. The other example is around flexibility. And flexibility means that I should be able to work my time. I should be able to work the times that is when I believe I could be most productive. Now, imagine I am the last mile worker working in an auto industry. I am supposed to man a machine on the production line. Something happens, right? I am leaving for work. I have a schedule to work, and my son meets with a small accident. I need to rush, take him to the hospital, because that is the most important thing for me. In my mind, I am worried that my manager will be mad at me. This is like no call, no show. I know the impact of me not turning up, because if one machine remains unattended, it means the entire line cannot start functioning. So there is a huge production impact of me not reaching there on time. Now, what if I could pick up my mobile and swap my shift with another person with same skills and request him to swap the shift? I feel empowered. I have no guilt in my mind. I know that there will be no problem for the manager. And I build that camaraderie with the other person. He knows that I am in his debt. And next time something happens to him, he can always request me to swap the shift with. This kind of tool and enablement, and I'm taking examples from manufacturing, and it's true for a BPO or an IT or a projects-driven industry, and there are different scenarios wherein these things can become very, very valid, right? So intentional work-life balance, intentional culture wherein people are heard and they feel empowered is absolutely critical. And it's a thing that we should have already done. Now, like I said in the very beginning, we can only improve things that we can measure. But what are we measuring today? Are we measuring only whether the projects are being completed on time, within budget? Are we only measuring the operational efficiencies? Should we not be measuring equity, inclusion, employee preferences? How happy? Now, well, there's one more thing which I want to talk about. When requests come to us from the business managers that my team is feeling a little low, we need to do an engagement initiative. We do take some point in time interventions, right? Let's do a team party. Let's go for an offsite. Let's bring in some expert who would do team building exercise. Now, all these are very good things and important and has good results. But then these are point in time initiatives. It does not change the way in which people are working in their day-to-day operational tasks. So what's essential is we should be able to look at the operational data and be able to understand whether we are hearing them, whether they are feeling empowered, whether they are feeling included, and hence have the sense of belonging. Because once this sense of belonging can come in, then people will have that growth mindset that you were talking about. If you want to grow, you will learn, right? You cannot teach people. People have to learn. And all of that happens by taking care of these small, small things within an organization that impacts the culture, that impacts the way people think and perceive the way they are being treated within an organization. So in this specific example, while budget cost an hour is one of the key parameters, what we are also considering is whether employee preferences are also taken into account. And when we look at an operational manager and understand their quality of execution, their own performance, we are not just measuring him or her on the budgets, the costs, and the business parameters, but also on how well the person is including people when he is finalizing his schedule. Now, the good thing is that he does not have to do all this by himself. The tool has got AI and ML embedded. It learns, it understands, it takes into account all the inputs that it has received from the employees. It takes into account all the business drivers and prepares an optimal schedule for all the employees, which factors in most of the components as much as possible. Not only that, it also understands how generous people are in accepting requests from others, how willing people are to earn more by picking up open shifts, right? What's priority? We talked about hyper-personalization. How much more hyper-personalized you can be if everybody's inputs are taken into consideration, right? So these are very powerful things which I have observed changing culture of organizations. So coming back to where we started, so what we need to do first is build a diverse, empowered, and inclusive workforce. Then champion that cause. Do the right things to ensure that culture of trust, equity, and belonging for all prevails in our organization. And then accelerate it with the right set of tools. Leverage the technology available, the artificial intelligence which we can leverage to ensure that we create a meaningful impact within our organizations so that our organizations can thrive. And not to forget, every investment would have a cost. But the other thing that we need to remember is that there is a business imperative to it. There is enough and more statistics that show that organizations with great culture have great business outcomes as well. The attrition, the retention, across all parameters that we would like to measure, the organizations with great work culture do significantly better. Now, we are UKG. our purpose is people. What makes us so different? So we have GPTW as one of our subsidiary organizations. They provide the right sort of research and insights into what constitutes a great work culture. We understand from them. We use the technology, which is part of our people solutions team, to bring this all together, to look at the basic operational data and be able to come up with the right indicators that will help evolve a culture. What we have come up with is something which we call GPTW Hub. It's essentially all the inputs from GPTW, all the operational data that you collect usually as part of your applications that help manage your workforce, your HR applications, and create the right indicators for you to track. Now, in our last conversation, you helped emphasize, underscore the fact that we in HR need to invest in understanding the data better. And that's we need to understand what data lake is, we need to hire data scientists and all that. Or what we can simply do is to rely on all this work that has already been done by organizations like GPTW, the technology-driven organizations, and simply utilize them within our organizations to make it a great culture. The idea is, now all this is very specific to the business that you are running. There has to be deep understanding of work that is happening on the ground. The technology that gets deployed is specific not just to the work, but the expectation of the people in that specific organization. Every organization is at a different level of their maturity and would have different needs. Bring it all together to unlock happier outcomes for all. So to summarize, making equitable, inclusive culture a reality for all is very much possible, and we all can go ahead and do it with the right intent and the right tools. And it's good for business, it's good for people, and it's good for the world, all of us. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and I'm sure it has impacted each and everyone over here. Well, I would request Mr. Dilip Joshi, Global CHRO EPL Limited, to kindly join us on stage and felicitate Mr. Ravi Pandey. Can we have a huge round of applause for Mr. Ravi Pandey?